So the big news from Sporting is that Geovany Quenda is heading to Chelsea. He will join Chelsea but spend one more year on loan with Sporting. And I'm making this video as a Sporting fan, giving you my true opinions about Geovany Quenda, and basically just giving an overview what I think of the transfer, what I think of the player, and just things like how he'll fit into Chelsea's team. So if you're not aware, I'm a Sporting fan. The accent might confuse some new viewers. I'm born and raised in England, but Portuguese heritage. So my father's Portuguese, so I've always just supported Sporting because of that. Because if I supported any other team, probably would get kicked out of the house. But I digress anyway. But yeah, I'm here to give my thoughts on Geovany Quenda. If you like this type of content, please subscribe. I've got some other things related to Liga Portugal and of course to Sporting as well, and of course to Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. So if you are new here, would appreciate a subscribe. But let's get into my thoughts about Geovany Quenda. So for me, Geovany Quenda is one of the most complete players for his age. At 17 years of age, I think the way he has been able to adapt to the first team and adapt to different managers has been nothing short of just phenomenal. He was brought into the team, of course, by Ruben Amorim after very productive spells in the youth teams, and he made his debut against Porto in Portugal's version of the Community Shield, which is called the Supertaça, and he managed to score. And even though Sporting would end up losing that game 4-3 despite being 3-1 up, I think Geovany Quenda was by far Sporting's best player, and every time he's played since, it's been improvement game after game. Under Ruben Amorim, he was mainly deployed as a right wing back or left wing back, depending on who was available. But now, since Rui Borges has taken over Sporting, he has been deployed mainly as a right winger, which I think is his best position. He's also been moved down to the left, again, depending on injuries and suspension and things like that. But for me, his best position is on the right wing. And I've seen a lot of people say, why are Chelsea signing a wing back? Chelsea don't play with wing backs, stuff like that. He's not been playing wing back under Rui Borges. And arguably his best football has come under Rui Borges, including in big games. For example, I mentioned Porto in the Supertaça under Amorim. But in the leg in the actual league where he played under Rui Borges, Geovany Quenda was fantastic in that game, providing the assist for the goal as well. So yeah, Geovany Quenda is someone that I know the word and the phrase is used quite a lot, but in terms of generational talents, I do think Geovany Quenda is up there. And even Roberto Martinez giving him his first call up in his first professional season. Remember, this is his first professional season, so he's had sort of a thrown into the deep end of sorts, and I guess he was a little bit protected with Ruben Amorim and a lot of the players around him. But he showed he didn't need to be protected. He was sometimes the best player on a pitch that included, Victor Gyökeres, Pedro Gonçalves, Trincao, Hjulmand, and players like that, Inacio Diamonde. Geovany Quenda has been a standout. And one thing about Geovany Quenda, he's been really consistent. And like I mentioned, every single game has been sort of an upwards trajectory for him. And he just managed to improve even the weaknesses of his game. But before I get onto the weaknesses, I'll talk about some of the positives. So things like 1v1 dribbling, Geovany Quenda can beat anyone. He is so quick and he is so smart in his decision making for a 17-year-old. You think maybe they'd be a bit, rash with decisions. They might rush a few things, but for me, Geovany Quenda takes his time with certain things. And in terms of 1v1 dribbling and attacking, he's very good at beating the man. He keeps the ball very close to his feet. The only thing sometimes with Geovany Quenda that frustrates me a little bit is just that final end product, where it's delivering the ball into the box or creating the final pass or taking the shot. Sometimes he lacks in that, but I think that is just a confidence thing, as he'll develop into that as he grows as not just a professional footballer, but in age as well. I think Geovany Quenda is someone that you can build a team around, hopefully, and the way he's been at Sporting, he's just been phenomenal. And Geovany Quenda's impact under Rui Borges cannot be understated as well. When you look at the team, Pedro Gonçalves has been out since November. It's nearly been sort of 4 or 5 months since he's been out. And we do miss Pedro Gonçalves, don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic player. But the way Geovany Quenda's been able to sort of fill in that role on the wing that Pot had, or even on the other side, he has just been really good. And like I said, very mature for someone his age in terms of footballing IQ. He doesn't make the wrong decision too often, but I think he's just been able to grow in a role that really wasn't tailored to him. Of course, like I mentioned, he was tailored to be at that right wing back position under Ruben Amorim. I know there's a lot of similarities between, the ball carrying of Ruben Amorim, right wing back. They're pretty much operated and utilised as wingers in his formation. But now he's an out-and-out winger. He's not expected to defend as much as he probably would in Ruben Amorim's system. But still, he's been able to show that over, just one season, he can play right wing back, right wing, left wing. He could even, I think, operate behind maybe the striker in a number 10 role behind Victor Gyökeres in the team. Although we've not seen that yet, but I still think that could potentially be a position for him. But at the moment, his best position is right wing. And Geovany Quenda isn't someone that, comes off the bench. He's not someone who, is sort of coming in against tired legs. He has started a lot of games. In fact, he has played 3,125 minutes in his first professional season over 43 games. That is crazy at age 17, playing 43 games and being able to perform at the level he has been is just incredible. You look at the stats and maybe they don't flatter too much. 2 goals and 8 assists isn't that great. But when you've got guys in the team who are, more inclined to score goals and have that more attacking threat and goal scoring threat, like a Pedro Gonçalves, like a Francisco Trincao, like Gyökeres, like Conrad Harder, even guys like Maxi Rujo is more inclined to be a goal scorer than Geovany Quenda. Geovany Quenda is a better facilitator in that aspect, hence getting the 8 assists. But yeah, I think stats can flatter and stats can deceive, and I think they definitely deceive here. I think Geovany Quenda outplays, what his stats show, and stats don't show everything. But yeah, if we look at the sort of scenario and the situation that we have, so Geovany Quenda is of course going to Chelsea, but he's getting loaned back, and for me, I think that is fantastic for his development. I think staying one more year at Sporting, hopefully under Rui Borges. I don't know how the rest of this season is going to go. Sporting currently sit in first place. Benfica have a game in hand and are currently 3 points behind. But due to goal difference and, head-to-head, Sporting will stay top even if they are level on points. With a game to go, Sporting do play Benfica later on in this season. I think it's towards May or April. So that'll be a decisive game. So I don't know what's going to happen with Rui Borges or anything like that. I would assume he'd stay regardless, but football's a crazy game and you never know. But I think being able to stay at Sporting is very good for his career and development and also his confidence. I think my biggest issue with Chelsea recently, or even in the past, they've signed youngsters and they've signed promising players and then they get in that endless loan cycle, whether it's, this is generalised back in the past, but it was always like Vitesse and, just constant loan cycles. Look at guys like Lucas Piazon, Josh McEachran. I'm sure I'm going to forget a few players, but those are just some talented players who are supposed to do good things in the game who couldn't due to, being in that loan cycle. So I think Geovany Quenda staying in a situation where he's familiar and he can grow a lot more, and also Sporting getting the money, I believe, up front as well, and being able to keep him is also great for us. I mean, I'll take it. But the one thing that worries me about this deal is Chelsea themselves as a football club. And I will say, yesterday, I did go to watch Chelsea versus Copenhagen. And I've also been to see Chelsea versus Servette in the Conference League as well. So I've seen a few games of Chelsea's live this season. Of course, the rest have been from, TV and things. But I just wonder if this is a smart move for Quenda, because let's be honest, the way Chelsea run at the moment, we don't know if Enzo Maresca is going to be there in the 26-27 season. It feels crazy to say about that, but we are in 2025. There's a lot of football still to be played this season, let alone next season. So who knows if Enzo Maresca is going to have the same formation, or if someone comes in, are they going to look at Geovany Quenda the same? Is this even a signing for Maresca, or is this something that the top heads at Chelsea have gone, look, we need to build for the future? They've already done with guys like Esteval from Brazil and Kennedy from Brazil. So I don't know if this is just a case of, getting these players and hopefully make a profit down the line, or hopefully build for the future. That is what worries me, because the way Chelsea have been run, maybe not so recently because they've been doing a lot well under Maresca, but I just don't really see if it's a stable environment for a player that age to go to. I think if you look at some players, I mentioned before about, back in the day, but even like current players like, Mudryk, for example, he went there with a lot of pressure and he was, supposed to be the next big Wonderkid, and hasn't worked out for him. just yet. There's other examples, of course. Maybe João Felix is a further down the line, further on in his career than the sort of Wonderkid status, or players with the ability and the potential to do so. But I think we've seen it a few times at Chelsea where it's just these players have come here, and whether it's a confidence thing, whether it's a tactical thing, it just hasn't worked out for them for whatever reason. I think the Premier League, it's not just a Chelsea thing, it's a Premier League thing as well. But I think the way Chelsea are sort of stockpiling these players is like a guy playing Football Manager. You want to buy all the young players and develop them and then sell them for profit. It's a very Football Manager-esque way of doing things, I suppose. But I just worry about the state of Chelsea as an institution and as a football club, wherever it will be the right move for him. On the flip side of that, though, people are saying, Man United was tailored for him, and, Ruben Amorim, things like that. I also don't think that's a great move for him. And to be fair, I don't think there's much difference of him going to Chelsea or going to United. I think they're pretty similar. In all honesty, Chelsea are operating better than Man United have been, and are probably a more stable club than Manchester United are at the moment. There's still a lot of questions over Manchester United, Jim Radcliffe, and Ruben Amorim. Of course, you can make the same about Todd Bowley and, Clear Lake and stuff like that. But for me, I think Chelsea is, at this moment, a more stable environment. And for me, I look at Manchester and I see guys like Højlund, Xerxes, and I mentioned it, at Chelsea, players come over with these, the sort of Wonderkid status or, generational talent status or whatever. And sometimes I do think personally Man United is probably the most looked upon club, where it's the most criticised club maybe, and all eyes are on them because Manchester United as a club and as a brand itself is so big. And I know Chelsea, I'm not trying to say that in any way, but I think it just makes it 10 times worse. And I think if things do start going wrong for Geovany Quenda at United, then they do, the media telling them like this. And I think we've seen it a lot with even more experienced players like Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes. There's not one player at Man United that really is universally liked, even though like Bruno Fernandes, and obviously the sporting connection there, but he's been their bright spot in a bad time, and he still gets criticism from guys like Roy Keane and stuff like that. And to me, United just isn't a stable club for Geovany Quenda, someone at that age, to nurture his career, I suppose, and develop. I guess if the roles are reversed and he comes back to Sporting on loan from United and they do that, maybe that's a bit better. But from what I was reading, from what I've seen, Ruben Amorim wanted Geovany Quenda at the end of this season to bring in, and I just don't know if that would have been a correct move for him at this time. But yeah, Chelsea does worry me. Watching them last night, I was somewhat impressed of some of the performance, but a lot of it was a bit not at Chelsea level. And I know it's going to take time to build them to where they were, but I just don't see Chelsea under Enzo Maresca suiting Geovany Quenda that much. I was looking at the wing plays yesterday, and the front three. Obviously, Cole Palmer's fantastic, and he came on, changed the game. But I was looking at guys like Pedro Neto, who was playing as a striker or false nine, I suppose. And you've got the two wingers. To be fair, one of the youngsters, George, I can't remember his name, sorry, off the top of my head, but he was fantastic yesterday, to be fair, and I'll give my plaudits there. But I don't know if Chelsea need any more wingers. I was watching Jadon Sancho yesterday, and I thought he was awful. I thought he was very frustrating. As someone who doesn't even support Chelsea, we'll go into that game and watching it and just being like, Jadon Sancho is just so frustrating. Of course, you've got Madueke, you've got Nkunku and Pedro Neto, and obviously Tariq George if he's staying in the team. You've also got question marks of guys like João Felix. Is he coming back into the team? And Mudryk, of course. So I don't know. And even still, Chelsea, we've seen they love to stockpile and buy players. Who knows, in this summer they don't go and get another winger and, make a marquee signing and sell some players. Obviously, that we're looking in the future, a hypothetical of 2026, 2027 season. But right now, looking at all the wingers they have, if they do sign Sancho, that means, he's added to that list of wingers who they have already. And I do think guys like Noni Madueke is a great winger. Pedro Neto I like as well, but there's a few others in there. Like I mentioned, Jadon Sancho has just been frustrating from the games I've seen at him at Chelsea and of course at Man United as well. So I just wonder if there will be space for Geovany Quenda to have that room to develop. Obviously, he's having that Sporting when he turns 18, and he'll come to Chelsea at nearly age, I believe, 19. So, like I said, he'll have that room to grow there. But I just wonder if it's the best move for him personally. I don't know if maybe he or his agent have rushed to this deal because, it's a big deal for him. Of course, going to the Premier League, playing for Chelsea is a dream of a lot of players in Portugal or, Spain, whatever. Playing for Chelsea, a massive club, is fantastic in the Premier League and hopefully back in the Champions League soon as well. So I understand it, but I just wonder, were there other options to, have a look at? It was PSG an option, was, teams in La Liga, other Premier League teams, Serie A, other things that, Geovany Quenda pretty much had the world at his feet. He's, like I said, fantastic. I do think he's a, like I said, overused term, but generational talent. I think there's not many like him at his age and his position and the way they've been able to contribute to a team. But I just wonder if this was a bit of a rush deal or if this was just, if it was been in the works for a while. He did sort of come out of the blue. Like I said, he was linked to Manchester United for ages. So the fact he's gone to Chelsea is, one, a bit surprising, and two, it's just a bit strange. I just don't really understand it personally. But that being said, I think Geovany Quenda is, like I said, a great talent. And I think if he is given the time to play and given the time to develop, because the good thing and the great thing about Geovany Quenda is that he's great now, but he's still not the finished product. There is still a lot of things that he can grow on. And if he does get those things all in line, whether it's the final product and, playing in a league like the Premier League, which is going to be a bit more physical than Liga Portugal and things like that, and playing, a lot of games, Champions League, Carabao Cup, stuff like that, playing against more physical teams from lower divisions, if that is the case, is that what is going to make Geovany Quenda a superstar? Because I think, again, he's phenomenal, but he's still not the finished article, and there's a lot of things that he can improve on. But if he's given the time to work those out, and of course, they've already made one great step of sending him back to Sporting on loan for the rest of this season, of course, the next season after. So it does give him even more time to develop under a coach that he's familiar with Rui Borges, and a team he's familiar with. Obviously, Sporting are still going to be selling, and, I've made my peace at Sporting being a selling club. All Portuguese teams are selling clubs, really. But you look and see where Sporting might be next year. So Rui Borges might still be there. Gyökeres is pretty much gone, we know. So, that's a big part of the attacking core gone. Trincao has been linked away. Morita has been linked away. Hjulmann's been linked away. Inacio Diamonde. Pretty much you can name the whole starting 11, maybe bar the goalkeeper. And, maybe the right... Ivan Fresneda has even been linked away. But like maybe Maxi Rougeau and a few others that haven't been linked away. Sporting could look very different this time next year. Or even, this time in the summer. In a few months down. This Sporting team could look drastically different. And I wonder if that will also affect Geovany Quenda's development. Because if we are a different team, and let's say, God forbid, knock on wood, that like if Gyökeres goes and we, people are saying, yeah, Gyökeres is the reason that Sporting does well, blah, blah, blah. If that is the case and Gyökeres does leave and Sporting sort of fall down to the second and third places, does Geovany Quenda get that same development? Of course, I would want Sporting to do well, and hopefully they recruit well in the summer. If Gyökeres does leave, I say if, he's pretty much gone, or if another player leaves. They've shown their recruitment strategy has been very good of getting players like Gyökeres and Hjulmann in. But of course, under Hugo Viana, we've now got two new Sporting directors who work together in terms of the scouting and signing players. So it's a new Chelsea, and it's a new Sporting as well. This is a completely new Sporting team. Obviously, we lost the manager, Ruben Amorim, to Manchester United. Hugo Viana left as well. And some key players can leave in the summer. So it's sort of a case of Geovany Quenda will have some room to improve at something he's familiar with, but how familiar will it be, if that makes sense? Are players going to leave Sporting? That makes makes him more of a vocal point, which is, one, could be a good thing, but also two, could be a bit drastic and a bit scary for him if he's made a more vocal point of the team's, offensive strategy or offensive structure. So again, these things will remain to be seen, but I do think it's a questionable signing. I think it's, value for money from a Sporting perspective, depending on what objectives and what the actual fee is. I've seen 45 or 50 million up front and the rest in objectives that could reach 70 million euros, which I guess for a player who's only played one, not even a professional season, is a good deal. and hopefully there's some like sell-on percentage fee in there and something like that. But I just see the deal as very questionable. I don't know how well it will go. Of course, I'm not from the future. There's a very, Michael Owen quote there, but whatever. I don't know. I can only give you the opinions that I see, and that is, or the facts that I see, and that is that Geovany Quenda is a fantastic player. If given the time, I do think he'll succeed, but who knows? If you did like this video, please let me know. What are your thoughts on Geovany Quenda? What are your thoughts on Chelsea? What are your thoughts on Sporting? Just let me know. Comments can be a free-flowing conversation. If you want to see some other videos, you can look at here. I've made some videos about Premier League, Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. I've made stuff about Liga Portugal, like Boa Vista, Porto, Benfica, Sporting, of course. So make sure to check that out as well. And just have a look at the channel, subscribe, and stuff like that. But yeah, if you have enjoyed, please let me know. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and peace.